Hi, everyone. Welcome to Project Pro's Industry Talks, where we focus on business outcomes and industry use cases of machine learning and GenAI. We have with us Rajdeep today. Rajdeep has over 10 years as a data scientist, most recently as a staff data scientist at Walmart, where he focuses on problems around user engagement and GenAI use cases. Before that, he has spent multiple years in supply chain and logistics, including companies like FedEx, DHL, Delivery, etc. And along the way, he has picked up a bunch of prizes and awards on analytics challenges while at university. Rajdeep, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, Binny, to have me here. It's pleasure to have a conversation with you here.
Thank you. Thanks. Rajdeep, to begin with, it would be very helpful to understand how has the role of a data scientist or an ML engineer changed before and after GPT, LLMs are coming out?
Right. It's a fantabulous question because a lot of people have a viewpoint. Broadly speaking, if you think from a data science perspective, not a lot of things have changed just from a day-to-day perspective. But thinking from a perspective of, let's say, there are 3 or 4 profiles that you can think from a scientist standpoint or a data perspective, be it analyst or a BI engineer or a machine learning engineer or a scientist.
Yeah.
So far, with the GenAI and the GPT world and things that is happening around, people leverage it for content, searches and things of that sort.
Yeah.
So that has been happening and people have started looking into that aspect of it.
Yeah.
The other thing that has become very unique is the world of GPT came with such a force that I feel we are in a dilemma in a way that we have a technology which is robust, but we are figuring out use cases right now. So it's the other way around. It's not like we had a use case and we were trying to solve for a problem. It's the other way around. Now we have a technology, but we are looking for the use cases which can be solved. So it's a good problem to solve in some ways. But so I would say data scientists before GPT were solving problems. And obviously looking into the technical aspect of it. Now it has becoming slightly reverse in the order. So you have a technology that supports these solutions. Now, can I fit these things into the large problems that I'm solving? So that's how I would say things have changed.
Okay. Actually, that's very well said, Rajdeep. There is a magical technology that has suddenly appeared, and we are kind of figuring out what's the right audience we can wow with that magic. Yeah.
Right.
Sense. Yeah. And, there's a bunch of interesting topics for us to discuss on GenAI. But before that, I just have one question. Just given that you have worked in both kind of early, late stage startups, as well as large enterprises like Walmart, what is the primary difference you see in the nature of machine learning projects in these two ecosystems?
Yeah, it's a great question again. The in a large conglomerates, I think the teams are slightly more focused around like you will always find a team which is supposed to just do data processing or feature engineering. You will have a team which is taking care of your engineering aspect of things. There'll be a team which is specifically around platform solutioning and scaling things out. So you can just do your work, which is like maybe building a model. However, in the world of startups, you are basically like one-stop solution for everything. And I think that really helps in certain aspect in a way that you may be playing a role, you being the same person, may be playing a role of data analyst to begin with when you are trying to understand the data, curating those data, creating a robust engineering applications, feature stores. Then once you build a model, you need to also align with business that these models are delivering value. And at the same time, productizing it, moving those models into platform, and things of that sort. So it just depends upon like it is slightly more structured in a big conglomerates. in startup it is not. However, the skills that you gain in startup can be applied everywhere, and so vice versa. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. And since you actually started breaking up the kind of a life cycle of an end-to-end data science project into pre-processing and hyperparameter tuning and feature engineering and things like that, before we go into Gen AI use cases across the business, if you look at Gen AI use cases assisting or empowering a data scientist, reducing the work of a data scientist, and if you take a standard machine learning project, where do you think LLMs or code generating LLMs will play the most role helping a data scientist? And as a result, what would be the reduction in time for a standard machine learning project? What do you think?
Again, I think we have seen a lot of improvement in efficiency brought in because of LLMs. Obviously, it takes time to build those LLMs to begin with. But let's say, presuming the world where you have an LLM which can do code generation for your own task. One of the things, data scientists in general is a very empirical or iterative job, in a way that get the first aspect of anything and everything is to get a functional pipeline up and running, and then based upon the feedbacks that you get, you need to cater to the requirement and bring a solution which makes sense. I think LLM has really helped to get that functional pipeline up and running in a more efficient and speedified manner. However, it is not yet solving the relevancy problem. What it means, you can still get a pipeline which is functional, but it may not still be relevant. Relevancy will take its own time. And that's where I think we do talk about hallucinations these models are doing right now, which is the LLMs. But from an efficiency, I still believe getting a functional pipeline to begin with and then tuning it for a use case is still a good, efficient or improvement in the pipelines that we work with.
Understood. Got it. And just double click on that question, Rajdeep. Given that, just like you said, how data science problems tend to be recursive in nature with a feedback loop present, right? That coupled with these limited context windows in LLMs, do you think that is a challenge to scale LLMs benefits to data scientists? And are there ways to solve that?
I won't say limited context. It's just that most of the LLMs that has been built out, be it all the large language be it coming from the OpenAIs or the Googles and the new startups that are coming in, they have been trained on task which is not specific to you. It is all the words, all the document on the internet, curated and may not be curated, right? So what you can believe in those models is that it may have been able to provide some reasoning which could be everything and anything happening in the internet. However, is it relevant? Like by way of an example, and this is something we do believe in, that you can fuel your life with energy, right? And with a protein bar or whatsoever. But in the world of Walmart, fuel means fuel pump stations.
Right.
So it's a broad hallucination, and we have seen something like this happening. So it's very important to have a curation window just to make sure that, okay, I understand the world, whatever is happening, the open text around curated and non-curated. And I can create a model and I can expose these models to people. However, how do I make sure that these are relevant? These are still, they are not hallucinating the words and the phrases that it has seen to make it specific to Walmart or things of that sort, or other organization. So these are certain things that we have realized.
Understood. Okay. That is actually super helpful. And I guess in a way, what you are saying right now kind of touches upon this, recent framework of RAG using to, custom train these models. Are there similar such emerging technologies you're seeing? It'll be great to understand what you're seeing out there.
I've seen three things happening a lot. Obviously, and like these things are happening at different cycle of building these LLM models. One of it is where you can divide these solution into first pre and post model generation. And in the world of pre, you can say you can further divide them into in one of the solution you do not change the parameter of the model, and in the other solution you do change the parameter of the model. So on the solution where you do change the parameter of the model, those are called as parameter efficient fine tuning. And there are a lot of paper around LoRa, QLoRa, where you basically change the entire parameter of the model structure to make it customized for your own words or the phrases or the content or the context. And in the world where you do not, you're not supposed to change the parameter of the model. Those are called as in context learning, where you're trying to understand the context around by doing these kind of racks or the prompt engineering, and there are 100 other things that is happening, autogen, reflection, and things of that sort. Uh, we have also seen some limitation on both the side, and hence came up with a strategy to do an evaluation post the response. And we try to look into what is the content that I'm generating, how good it is, how bad it is. Is there a content score that I can create, which can take care of these hallucination? Is it relevant content? Is there a score that I can associate to relevancy? And then try to get deeper into it. These are the things that we are doing at this moment in time. Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. That is very helpful. And just kind of slightly going into use cases, right? The most popular use cases we are all familiar with is obviously the summarization use cases we all get to hear about. But other than that, in what other areas are you seeing meaningful deployments and outcomes of LLMs other than summarization?
A lot of things are happening in the world of ads. Because the way you target, you can always personalize those targeting. And that has seen a real good impact or ROI in certain ways. A lot of these companies, the big companies that we have makes majority of their revenue from ads. So that has become one area where people are trying to get into. The other thing is anything which is regarding like question and answer, the chatbots. LLM agent has becoming very popular around how do I understand, like instead of you talking to me in a form of code, can you talk to me in English, and I should be able to recognize and create a code according to that. So maybe just writing a SQL query instead, can I say that, hey, can you create me a graph of one state versus another state for a revenue stream and from this period to that period. Like instead of you writing it in a form of a code, you can write it in English, and my language agent is able to comprehend that. By doing that, what we have seen is that you have increased the audience a lot more. So now it has becoming business audience specific solutions. So you're getting more people using it. And the entire point of machine learning is all about making more people use it, because you do improve with feedbacks. So more people using provides you more feedback, and hence your model are becoming more relevant. So these are some other use cases that we can talk.
Okay, so in fact, my next question was going to be if we can kind of cover one use case in a little more detail. And the ads use case is actually very relevant because, like you were saying, it kind of brings about the unique power or capabilities of an LLM, which is the whole feedback mechanism is very real time based on clicks. It kind of brings together the multimodal capabilities of LLMs to generate these ads. So if you could take the ads use case, Rajdeep, or maybe something else, and if you could just help us understand what does a pipeline for such a use case look like, from data ingestion to eventual embedding into a final product, that will be pretty helpful.
Yeah, I can broadly speak about some of the solutions that I've seen around. Like, so in the world of ads, obviously, one of the important thing that you want to do is that you want to get personalized with your messages. That's something really key. And and at the same time, you need to know whom to target, right? So it's all about knowing what to target, whom to target, and at what place. So the place could be anywhere in the app. It could be the home page. It could be somewhere in between. It could be at the end of it. It could be an email channel. It could be a mobile notification and things and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, not everything can be solved with LLM, but
Yeah.
the task of making my messages more relevant or personalized is something that we always try to do and figure out if that makes sense from the ads perspective. Yes, well said on the aspect that because the short-term metrics do help to optimize. So CTR being one of the key aspect. Um, l- Getting a functional pipeline is easy in this world in a way that you can always personalize your messages for the person and see if they are behaving in a different way as they were supposed to do if these messages were not there, which is an A/B experimentation.
Yeah.
Um, but I have seen some challenges around the entire realm of experimentation with these LLM. Uh, what I mean is that if you think from an A/B experimentation standpoint, the two things that you can do is you can either personalize your messages and versus, let's say you're not sending them or you are not personalizing. It actually provides a lot of constraints. So people have also gone into a different step to figure out, do I need a different way of experimentation in the world of LLMs? And hence these multi-arm mandate solution have also becoming more relevant, where you can validate more than 100 messages at the same time and figure out or do a content matching based upon what is working best.
Yeah.
LLM have in that ways challenged every aspect of the machine learning problems that we were doing. So it has not only just building model building, but also getting into like how do we experiment, how do we figure out the right content is and the limits are something I still believe we have not reached to the current version of it.
Okay.
There is a lot of things happening even after that.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things happening at the same time, and we are improving in every aspect of the pipeline because of these LLM agents.
Got it. Got it. And do you think we are at a stage where we are able to say LLM intervened ads CTR is X% better than non-LLM ads? Are we there yet or not yet? Are we getting there soon or?
So that comes with the notion. See, I think I would rephrase that in a way that um, the contextual LLM that we have will always improve the CTR. That's the hypothesis that everyone begins with.
Okay.
LLM, the open source LLM,
Yeah.
may not. The contextual LLM is the in-context learning or a parameter efficient tuned or prompted properly LLMs may. These three aspects are empirical in nature. Again, it is you need to tune it in a specific fashion.
Yeah.
We have seen positive results, obviously,
Yeah.
uh, but difficult to comprehend like exactly what is the delta, because sometimes these delta are not only because of LLM. It could be
Yeah.
because of 100 other things happening at the same time. Then it becomes an attribution story for us.
Yeah.
But we have seen directional positive results for sure.
Okay. Okay. And, I just have, based on what a couple of things you just said right now, I have a slightly tangential question to do with career
Okay.
skills, which is, traditionally somebody who wanted to become a data scientist, there was a stack of, regression classification, and you go up that stack and eventually you get to NLP, and inside that you go up to deep learning and things like that. So, but today, if somebody wants to go into data science, do you think there seems to be an alternative where people can skip the regressions and classification, all of that, and go straight into the Gen AI mode of focusing, or not really? How do you think of that?
That's something which is fairly it's a valid question in a way that not everyone is supposed to, like, even if you think about these NLP and the vision classes, they were always part of the computer science schools and less of a business school.
Yeah.
However, you will find these regression and classification to be part of these business schools. One of the reasons that I believe you can actually skip these things. However, you cannot skip the basic intuition behind building these models. Is that at the end of the day, the unit of measurement of these NLP or a computer vision is deep learning. So that's where everything starts. as long as you understand deep learning, then yes, you can go ahead and start building these natural language processing model first, understanding what was the state of the art back in 2013, what was TF-IDF to begin with, bag of words, and then learning these birds, and then GPTs, and then OpenAI came with so many solutions. Uh, Understand the entire story, why each and every solution came, and what was the problem that it is solving from the previous version of it is really important, because then only you can create a map of these things from 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
uh, you would be able to come up with, okay, I think these 10 problems are still unsolved and we need to solve for it. It does help in that ways,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, there is a core engineering skills required while building these NLP and computer vision models. You need to be very comfortable with some of these standard APIs, be it in TensorFlow or PyTorch, and it requires some kind of engineering skills to begin and to follow. That's the way I see it. Like, so either you can come from an implementation route, which is these APIs, or you can come from a linguistic route, which is something I've seen a lot of people doing then, and they pick up these tools while learning. So that could be another way. And you can, coming from a pure regression classification route, can provide you some edge in terms of you understanding what the training means, testing means, how do you evaluate bias, various trade-off, etc., etc. But but you still need to know the other two skills. You still need to know the linguistic aspect. You still need to know these new APIs that came in the market and become really comfortable with it. That's how I see it.
Okay, that's actually very well said, which is you're basically saying either you can come from the engineering route, which kind of focuses on the APIs and taking these things into production, or the linguistic route, which is kind of how to deal with the more core concept,
Cool.
logic behind figuring out the language and the predictions. Okay.
The one more thing I can add is, Minnie, is that since a lot of these problems are not solved in entirety, there is a lot of space for people to come in. It's not like some of these solution has reached maturity yet. So as long as you are able to come up with any of the routes and solve one of these problems, you will become relevant in no time. Yeah, good.
Okay, that's actually the last point you made, Rajdeep, was actually pretty interesting, because the next topic I wanted to get your thoughts on was this open areas in LLM that are yet to be solved, where you think a lot of the hard problems, if solved, will unlock a lot of opportunity. And I know you mentioned, like, PEFT sometime back, but what else do you see down that path that, if solved, could unlock a ton of potential with LLM?
One thing that come on top of my mind is how do we reduce the size of these models, which is called as diffusion in our world. The entire point of reducing the size of the model is, can I run these model on my mobile devices, or let's say Alexas that we have at home? It's really important to think from edge computing and how do we reduce the size of these model with similar model performance, because then you are just increasing more adoption of these solutions. The moment you have more adoption, you'll get more feedback, and hence the entire point of making more robust solution starts. So there is a lot of things happening from that world. And it's not all about, like, if you there are a lot of papers written in a way that it is not even required to build these large models of 100 billion parameters. Maybe a 4 billion parameter model outperforms some of the tasks that you're thinking of these 100 billion parameter. So there is a lot more things happening. Maybe we don't currently understand them in entirety. We don't need these huge models. That could be one thing to solve for, which is one active area of research. The other thing I would say is the LLM agents. I think I spoke briefly about it, where I can write my request in English and you should be able to figure out what it is and then come back with a response that I feel more comfortable with. There's a lot happening in that world by React and Plan and Solve. solution. There is a reflexive that is coming in. There is DERA, I think it is called as dialogue-enabled resolving agents. There's Autogen, where you can understand the LLM agent at pieces. LangChain has made our life slightly more simpler in that ways, but there are a lot more solution out there. The all the entire point here is that, like, think from a it's very difficult to solve a monolithic task, but if I somehow able to divide these tasks into subtasks, then my LLM agents are doing really fine. But then the bigger problem is, how do I convert these monolithic tasks to subtasks, which is like the same problem that we have been solving in software microservices. Like divide your monolithic code base into simple, small services or functions, and then and your code looks really beautiful then. So that would be one area that I feel there's a lot of research happening, and people are trying to understand the feedback loops, making your model more relevant and things of that sort. Third thing I would say is the embedding route. Um, 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 if you want to run these solution at scale, and primarily from a perspective of retrieval efficiency, you need to build embeddings. Now, the thing is that we have done fairly well in embedding, but our embedding has always been really shallow. They were never dense in a way that it does not capture the context. So can we do something in that route so that my embeddings are more relevant? And then there is the fourth piece, which has been an unsolved problem right now, is that all these LLM agents, when they create this knowledge mapping in their world, it's done mostly in text. Text is not the best way of creating a knowledge representation. Maybe graph is a better way because you can connect things happening. And these are certain things, I would say, 4 areas of research that is currently in progress, and people can move in any of the direction based upon their interest.
Very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Given this ton of activity that's happening in these different 4 areas that you spoke about right now, and the ton of opportunity that all this can unlock, what can go wrong? Not in a specific project, but given the hype of GenAI and the promise of LLMs, what can go wrong? And derail this whole thing?
Relevancy hallucination is something that is the key. The other aspect is the ethical side of these models. See, you need to understand all the large language models that exist, they were always trained on the open source data, right? And they were both curated and non-curated. So there is an implicit bias of the society that goes into these models. And I think we have seen a lot of examples that is happening where how these models are doing wrong with specific ethnicities. If not curated well, if not like both in terms of curation of the model training or the curation of the data on which it is being trained. Your model will hallucinate, and it may create a bubble where the societal bias will keep reinforcing with these LLM agents. And then all the new generation may start believing this is the world we live in. And I doubt we want to create that world.
Yeah, that's actually a fantastic point. I think about it last week, I saw this New York Times article where they had taken a bunch of these open source LLMs and they tried to profile them politically. And given all of given the Silicon Valley roots of all of these open source LLMs, all of these LLMs ended up being left liberal kind of political views on practically everything. So it makes a lot of sense what you just said right now.
Right. It's a lot of work is actually happening around denoising these bias, but it is an active area of research. So maybe the fifth point that I may have forgotten to talk about, denoising the hallucination, and at the same time debiasing these LLM agents so that it is not specific to how does it stay neutral. And it could be gender neutral, and you can try it out. If you write an engineer, there is a very high chance that your LLM agent will presume it is a male, and it will give you a pronoun of he. It's something it's happening a lot, which is not true.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. This has been extremely helpful, Rajdeep, the entire roundup you gave us. Thank you for taking time to do this. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Benny, to have me here. Hope we had a very encouraging conversation.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks.